I was run over completely by a car. I was 4 years old, driving a plastic tricycle called a big wheel back in the 70s, 80s, or whatever. Um, so I'm driving out of a neighbor's driveway to cross the street between two parked cars, and another car coming hits me. And I remember a blur, and then I remember basically everything going black and then opening up again. And when it opened up, I'm leaning on someone who I think is someone anyway. And I'm coming back into awareness. My head's down and I open my eyes. And the first thing I notice is the bottom of what looked like a robe and long hair that was like white, silver, different colors as it moved. And I turned to see if it was a person, and well, who it was, because all I'm thinking is, who is this? And I turned and it was a being that had no face. They only had light for a face. And they were wearing a hood. They told me I was in an accident, that everything would be all right. And the more we talked a little bit like they were comforting me. The more we talked, I was being like pulled closer to this face. And closer I got, I could see what would look like we would describe heaven to be. Like there was Um, the flowers were alive, the colors were alive. They had their own like being, and you could feel the laughter and things from children, and there were seniors there. And it was just the most beautiful thing. And I was hit at that moment with an instant knowing that pain, suffering, and things couldn't exist there. It wasn't that they didn't, it was that they couldn't. They weren't vibrating at the same frequency. And I wanted to go, but they told me it wasn't my time, that everything would be okay. And then all of a sudden I was shifted into the what I call the quantum field, is basically the unified field theory, that everything meets within this unified field. So it looked like a blueprint to me. It looked like graph paper or a blueprint with buildings on it, but behind it, it's like I instantly knew this was the building block of creation itself. And they taught me that our thoughts are what build creation and reality, and that we're creators, and the thought seeds into the heart. It's expressed through the body, um, and the ability to shift timelines by knowing, and completing a signal of knowing what we want to be or manifest, or things like that. So they taught me how to link my mind to my heart and create movement through timelines, dimensions. Um, they showed me an energy a lot like a wagon wheel. And in the center was this beam coming straight down, and the beam was pure love. And they're like, you're that beam. But as you go throughout your life, and there's memories I learned later, and I'll explain that in a moment. As you go throughout life, you spend your energy to this field, and the signal comes back to you. That cycles through your nervous system, and this creates the reality you live in. And they showed me memories being contained in like a screen that was all the way around me, like 360 degrees. They were emanations of my quantum energy, and they were linked to me. And it was like a wheel, like the spokes going out to the outer rim were my extensions of energy. And they taught me you had to tune your frequency to discharge these certain, basically, bondage, patterns of behavior and certain selves we've created that lock us into circuits that we just run on circuits of behavior, and we never really look at that pattern. Um, they taught me about the divine blueprint, how each and every person has a blueprint, and this is in the field. And I later learned and figured out this was very similar to the promise of Christ, but that we have to use our free will to identify with it. In other words, believe that we are that, just the same way we believed we are other things. And as we integrate this blueprint into our energetic body, it makes it very hard for things like disease and the stuff similar to mental illness to reside within us because we raise our frequency. We raise ourselves in that divine image, and we all have a birthright to do it. We can do it whenever we want if we believe it. And that's the thing, that's seeding in that thought to the mind, from the mind to the heart, and then knowing it through the body. And then we're integrating this light body, if you will. So I was able to remember some of my experience, and I didn't feel comfortable talking about it. Like probably around my early teens, I remembered some of it, and then more came back. And then, I was never comfortable mentioning it, never mind that. And then when I flipped the car over 5 times, doing about 80 miles an hour, I was pretty reckless. Um, that's when the voice returned and said the same thing to me. You were in an accident, everything's going to be all right. And I was like, my mind just broke. All these visions came in, all these memories. Um, and it was just like a harsh awakening where I would experience time loops and missing time. And I would walk through a scenario where I'm like going to the gas station, for instance, to do something. And then all of a sudden I'm doing it again. And it wasn't deja vu. I walked through it and I felt it and I did it. And then all of a sudden something would click and I'm doing the same scenario again. So it was very harsh. Um, didn't sleep for a while. Scared a lot of family members in the beginning many years ago. This was before I figured out, there's a higher self and a lower self, and they're having a battle for heaven within me right now for my heart, you know. And then this helped awaken me to other things in the world, the need to claim our identity as divine energy in human form and release ourselves from the attachments, false identities, because to become the programmer, really. They taught me how to become the programmer, and that our subconscious is like the hard drive, the waking consciousness is running that, and it's linked to our cellular memory. But if we create a high enough charge and we create polarity, we can give order to the system.
Wow.
So all that without, well, some of that without going to school, without going to college. I was speaking about quantum physics quite a bit when I woke up the second time, and my family was freaked out, and rightfully so. I was freaked out. There were certain things when this energy returned, and the floodgates opened, and this embodiment came in, and my charge was affecting other people. During this time, it was like I was experiencing life for the first time. It was very surreal. There were certain things that I knew, or everyday things that I knew how to do, and I would like forget, but then I would have other memories in its place. And it was like walking through reality for the first time and relearning how to integrate what really was reality to what I previously knew to be.